Vince McMahon can seem aloof at times, but there are actually several WWE superstars you became close to in real life, a fact which shows another side to the WWE CEO. Number 1. R-Truth. Simply put, R-Truth makes Vince McMahon laugh, and their love of laughter has forged a strong bond of friendship over Truth's time in the WWE. While R-Truth has only headlined one main event at a pay-per-view, he's always had a role in the WWE, and if backstage banter is correct, he'll always have a job in and out of the ring. Vince McMahon is known for having a very off-the-wall sense of humour, as evident by the so-called comedy skits he's put on the air. While we're not saying R-Truth has a similar sense of humour, as evident by these photographs, you can't say that R-Truth hasn't got Vince McMahon in stitches. It's been said laughter is the best medicine, and in this case, it's the best way to stay in McMahon's good graces. Number 2. Dean Ambrose. It's difficult to say what will earn a wrestler Vince McMahon's loyalty and friendship. In the past, WWF main eventers such as Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage and Bret Hart grew close to Vinnie Mac, but over time, business often got in the way of friendship. In the case of the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose seems to have bonded with McMahon thanks to their similar upbringings. Like some of the names on this list, Dean became friends with McMahon because he's not afraid to walk up to the WWE chairman and speak to him from his heart. During an appearance on the Stone Cold podcast, Ambrose remarked how Vince McMahon doesn't like to be glad-handed and mentioned one incident that typifies their friendship. "It's great. Me and Vince are boys. I'm his favourite wrestler. I had a 45-minute conversation with him at 2:30 in the morning the other day. He was going to work out, because he's crazy like that." In the interview, Ambrose noted McMahon is a street fighter at heart, a guy who came from the trailer park and is one of the boys, despite being the WWE CEO. Austin explained how Ambrose and Austin shared a similar hard-scrabble upbringing, something which likely helped Ambrose and McMahon become fast friends. Number 3. The Undertaker. In 1990, Vince McMahon took Mark Calaway and gave him a fantastic opportunity, building him up as the unique character The Undertaker, a character Calaway made a success, launching a main event career that spanned 3 decades, all of them in the WWE. Ironically, McMahon wasn't originally enthused about bringing him into the WWF. According to former WWF creative guru Bruce Pritchard, McMahon was less than impressed when he saw Calaway wrestle Lex Luger. Simply put, Vince wasn't high on Mark in WCW, and it wasn't like you were going to get a great match out of Luger. Add to that a dislocated hip, and it wasn't the greatest match in the world. And Vince just saw a tall, red-headed basketball player, so there wasn't a lot of interest. But then finally when they got the two of them together where they could meet, hard not to fall in love with him. The Undertaker has been a locker room leader and a steadfast worker for the WWE. As we've discussed in the past, WCW tried to lure Taker to the company around 2000, but the Phenom stood by the WWF. He's also stood by Vince McMahon in times of danger, or at least what he saw as danger. On at least one occasion, the American Badass lived up to his name, choking out Kurt Angle during an air flight when he mistakenly thought Angle had attacked Vinnie Mac. In fact, Vince and Angle were goofing off on the plane with McMahon trying to boast he'd take down an Olympic gold medalist. The Undertaker hasn't been afraid to call McMahon out either. Recall the Montreal Screwjob where The Undertaker demanded that McMahon apologize to Bret in order to maintain locker room order. Also, rumour has it McMahon asked The Undertaker to lose to Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 32, a request the dead man turned down, causing a temporary rift between the two. Nevertheless, The Undertaker has been loyal to McMahon, consenting to allow Brock Lesnar to end his WrestleMania undefeated streak. McMahon in turn rode to the hospital with the Phenom after he suffered a concussion during the said bout against Lesnar, with McMahon and The Undertaker maintaining their friendship to this day. Number 4. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels' dark days in the 1990s saw him lose his smile, battle personal demons, and make life miserable for a number of wrestlers backstage. Regardless, the Heartbreak Kid steadily climbed at the top of the WWF ladder, only retiring after a back injury. Fans often wondered why McMahon put up with Michaels' well-documented headaches, with some speculating the two were even lovers. The real reason seems to be Michaels was friends with McMahon and wasn't afraid to get close to the boss. According to Michaels, Vince McMahon, the guy I argued with more than anybody, understood it. He understood that it wasn't unprofessionalism or ego that was driving all that. It was a desire and a passion to be the guy and to be the absolute very best that I could be. He tells people all the time the reason he didn't fire me is because he could see through all that. Ultimately, when it came down to his way or my way, he always knew when he said, "This is what I want done, period." He knew I'd do it, and I always did. Number 5. Chris Jericho. Some of the strongest friendships don't always get off on the right foot. Such was the case with Chris Jericho, the WCW Cruiserweight star whose early days in the WWF weren't as well received as fans expected. Rumour has it, McMahon unloaded on Jericho back in 1999, engaging in a profanity-filled tirade that saw the boss question Y2J's work ethic and commitment to the WWF. Jericho took the lesson to heart, becoming the first undisputed champion in the WWF and forming a long friendship with McMahon that some see as a father and son relationship. Number 6. CM Punk. Keep in mind that not everyone on this list are still friends with wrestling's genetic jackhammer. While CM Punk and Vince McMahon probably don't exchange holiday greetings anymore, once upon a time, they were close, with wrestling scuttlebutt having it that their friendship began due to their both being insomniacs. McMahon, who claims he sleeps about 4 hours a day, and Punk are reportedly insomniacs, and both men exchanged texts in the middle of the night, forming a friendship during Punk's time in the WWE. Given the headaches both men made for each other during Punk's last days in the WWE, it's amazing they got any sleep at all. Number 7. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like any friendship, the relationship between the Texas Rattlesnake and Vince McMahon has seen its ups and downs. Nonetheless, the two remain friends, with the Bionic Redneck observing in 2015, "I have an outstanding relationship with Vince in the WWE right now. There were a few trademark issues, but that was just a minor thing that got resolved in a very amicable conversation I had with their lawyers. At times, Vince has been like a father figure, a brother, a mentor, a best friend, and an enemy. That was a short window of time when I say enemy, but we were at odds every now and again. This is a high-stakes business that is extremely personal." Some fans point to Austin's absence from WWE events as evidence of a soured relationship between the two, but Steve Austin denies this, arguing, "There was no creative for me at WrestleMania 31. As much as I love the business and I love my fans, I don't want to be at every WrestleMania. I was really happy to watch it in my house. I wanted to see Sting and Triple H wrestle, and I was excited for all my buddies in DX and the NWO, but I want the younger generation of wrestlers to experience it and have all the fun dedicated to them. That's the future." Number 8. Roman Reigns. Common sense would tell you that Roman Reigns' continued main event push in the wake of overwhelming fan backlash was an indicator of a possible friendship between the big dog and the WWE's head honcho. And in this case, you're right. Simply put, Vince McMahon sincerely believed Reigns had the makings of a superstar who could carry the WWE for the next few years. Analysts have rightly pointed to Reigns' continued push as well as little, but important things such as Vince taking bumps for Roman in the ring shouldn't be ignored either, as McMahon no longer takes bumps on a regular basis. Although Reigns is battling the return of leukemia, it's likely McMahon will continue his push should Reigns be cleared to wrestle. Number 9. Daniel Bryan. It's well known that Vince McMahon and Daniel Bryan are close, but there's no definite word on when this happened. In a 2018 interview, Bryan looked back on his first match in NXT when he wrestled Chris Jericho. Bryan discussed Vince McMahon's surprising remarks to the bout. Everybody thought it was a really good little match. I got to the back and Chris told me, he goes to Vince and he says, "Hey, we've really got something with this guy here." And Vince goes, "Him? He doesn't even eat meat." It's possible Bryan first impressed McMahon when he was fired by the WWE after unintentionally breaking a rule about on-air violence. This happened during the Nexus debut when Bryan attacked ring announcer Justin Roberts, choking him out with Roberts' tie. Bryan took his punishment without complaint and was eventually rehired, ultimately becoming WWE Champion and World Heavyweight Champion. When Bryan was forced to retire from the WWE due to a myriad of injuries, including numerous concussions, the company kept him in their employ, including a role as SmackDown General Manager. When Bryan was cleared to return to wrestle, the company eagerly brought him back. And number 10. Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's status as the WWF's only Olympic gold medal winner saw him receive a big push from his 1999 debut, and Angle ran with it, quickly adapting to professional wrestling and showing a tremendous gift for promos, whether they were serious or comedic. Along the way, he formed a close relationship with Vince McMahon, which made things harder when the WWE asked him to either go into drug rehab or leave the company. Angle left the company, but in a 2016 interview with Sports Illustrated, he had this to say: "Vince always cared about me. He's a good guy, and he felt like he was my father figure. I admired Vince's work ethic and drive. He was a machine. He was willing to sacrifice so much to be a success, and he was one of those guys who I feared and looked up to. I feared him the same way I feared my father. I was right, he was a good guy. He would tell me when I screwed up, and he'd tell me how to fix it. He basically said, 'Listen, you won an Olympic gold medal. Very few people on this planet have ever done that. You're special. You can kick this thing.' But I fell back into it." Angle went to work for TNA Wrestling, where his addiction problem worsened. But Dixie Carter encouraged him to get the help he needed. As fans know, Angle returned to the WWE in 2017, entering its Hall of Fame and working in an on-air role as Raw General Manager. Well guys, there you have it, 10 wrestlers who became close to Vince McMahon in real life. Are there any that surprised you? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.